we've been preparing for this. My mom has been, her health has been declining over the past months. And so in a certain sense, we had an opportunity to prepare for this, but I don't think one ever really does. The most wonderful part about that, however, is the fact that all the family has pulled together and has been coming in to visit over the past months. So almost every family member, that she's had an opportunity to visit with. I think just from the early years of my childhood, my mother was always a person who really turned around a situation of her past. She, I think, came out of the experience of the war years and being in the Holocaust. One would imagine could become very embittered or very positive. And I was fortunate enough that my parents gave me a very normal childhood. And they always were considering other people and gave us opportunities, to really enjoy a very normal childhood. And that's probably the most remarkable thing to me as a parent now, how normal a childhood that I was able to have as a result. Her autobiography, All But My Life, was published in 1957. I was 9 years old when the book came out, and it was always a very natural part of our childhood. They didn't hide anything. It was a book that I think appeals to so many young people now because it's very readable and one can really identify with my mother as a person and her emotions. And so it was always something that all three of us, I'm one of three, sister and brother, and I'm the oldest, by the way, that I was really privileged to learn about in a very non-threatening manner.
I was at a crossroads in my own career about 16 years ago, and I had the greatest privilege of what originally was stepping in for 3 months to assist my grandmother with some travel and arranging speaking engagements and advancing some writing projects. That turned into 16 years, which is one of the greatest privileges of my life. And, just the blessing of spending that time with her. Being able to just witness the impact she's had on, I traveled with her for about 8 or 9 years. She kind of officially retired from public speaking several years ago, but just the impact that I witnessed of her speaking, as you mentioned, to tens of thousands of high school and college age students, just to audiences of all backgrounds, and just give the ability she had. Really, I think one of the greatest gifts that she had was just being able to connect to people regardless of their age, no matter what the audience was, whether it was a corporate retreat or a high school or a religious gathering. She obviously, her story didn't change, but she had this incredible gift of being able to take her message and apply it to her audience and just really speak to them, on their level, and kind of just really kind of at a new personal level. In addition to traveling with her and accompanying her on all of her speaking engagements and assisting with writing projects, I've also had the privilege of helping manage all of her fan mail, and tens of thousands of letters over the years, and just the tributes have poured it up. I haven't even been able to go through a fraction of what's happened this week, obviously. But it's just her gift of hope, that she's able to inspire people and give them hope. She always talked about the darker the night, the brighter the dawn. And so many of the messages and emails and cards that she's gotten from people around the world, regardless of their background. My grandparents were Columbine and helped kind of that community heal after that incredible tragedy. She's worked with incarcerated youths. So much of the mail she's gotten is from teenagers and others who are suicidal, who just feel that, they can't go on. And then they read her book, they hear her story, and all of a sudden they realize that that life isn't so bad, that things could be much worse. And she used to always say that you should never make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. She thrived in the role of author and speaker and whatnot, but if you asked her what was her favorite role, she would without a doubt say wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. I was privileged to, be in many incredible places with her, in the White House in Beverly Hills, and all these conferences and amazing people rubbing elbows with the likes of Warren Buffett and just Fabio. And she was on the Oprah show and whatnot. But to her, it was just, she would trade all of that for, but her lodestar during the war, which was a boring evening at home. She just, wanted to be at home, surrounded by her family. And, she would trade that for the fanciest 5-star, restaurant, any day. And I just think some of those values that she's instilled in her 3 children, definitely I can speak for myself and, I believe for the other grandchildren, and now their 8 great-grandchildren, 18 great-grandchildren. And just, the fact that, they'll be able to continue, we'll all be able to continue on her legacy, and that her story will obviously live on through us, and we will make sure to pass that along to future generations.